Heart. I'm Anita Barfoot. I'm a spiritual mentor and teacher, coach. And we're here because we love to have deep conversations. And we like to share those with you guys so that if you're into spiritual, deep conversations and life hacks, you came to the right place, and we want you to know that you're not alone. And my co-host is Connie Lee.
Yes, so I'm Connie Lee, and I also, that's why Anita and I started this, is that we wanted to have like real, raw and real conversations that help people in any way that you take from it. And yeah, that's pretty much about me. Marie?
My name is Marie, and I am an energy healer and intuitive, and I really love Anita and Connie, so I love having conversations with them.
How perfect. So we're glad that you're here with us tonight. And if you know somebody who could sit down or would love to sit down and jam with us, we'd love if you share our video out. And let's dive in, ladies, shall we?
Yes.
Let's do it.
So the first question that I'd love to ask is, what do you guys do when life gets messy to keep your life together? Like, what's your life hack that maybe will help somebody else out? And who wants to jump in?
So
come on, it wasn't that hard, ladies.
I have a lot of different like tools I go to. So usually my first thing will be to meditate, or one of the other things that I have found that's really effective for me is like, for me to keep my shit together, I need to work out, and I need to work out consistently. And so I will hit the treadmill and do weights, and that keeps like my moods, stable, so that I can kind of like keep facing the day. In the moment, like when it's those really like intense moments and like it just feels like everything's falling apart, I usually, I guess, either go for a walk in the forest or turn to like breath work.
And tell me about breath work. What does that look like for you?
So being really like, for me, when I do it, it's like being really conscious of like, breathing in and holding the breath. So it's usually like 4 seconds inhaling and then holding the breath and then exhaling for like at least 6 seconds. But so I find,
go ahead.
I find that, I don't know, I find breathwork to be effective, but at the same time, I find that I need that like really physical kind of activity, which is why I will hit the treadmill first. That's basically the thing that keeps me together.
So you do the physical activity, and then you go to like a meditation or a quiet. You do both. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And you do it in that order. So if you do it backwards, it doesn't work as well?
Because I find that when things are really shitty, like it feels like life is really messy, I need that like release of energy first. Because like I meditate.
That makes sense.
If on a daily basis, I meditate, right? But it's when things are really intense that I'm like, okay, I need something more to this. So that's kind of what I do.
I love it. How about you, Marie? And I'm not being distracted. I'm trying to share this on Facebook, and I'm having a hell of a time here. So I really am listening.
I guess my process is similar to Connie's, only my tools are a little bit different. So the first thing that came to mind was when things get messy, I let them get messy for a little bit. Because I like to kind of sit with how I'm feeling and try to figure out where it's coming from, if I'm making a mountain out of a molehill.
I love that, though. That's processing, right?
Yep. And then you talk about a release of energy. Lots of times I find that I just need a good cry.
But see, I love that, because the crying is the release. Like most people freak out when they cry, like that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all, right? It brings the stuff up as so it can leave our system.
Yeah, and truthfully have been one of those people, especially when my kids were younger and when life was really messy then. But I would often find myself like breaking down in the car on the way home from work when I had a longer drive. And I always had this voice in my head that was like, we don't have time for this. We do not have time for this. We're not doing this now. And I really didn't let myself cry very often. I also didn't have a great support. I mean, I don't want to say that. I didn't have someone in my home with me that was a support to me when I got home that I could vent to. It was kind of like all me, unless I went outside of my house to seek some support. But so I'm still learning that crying is a good thing. It still doesn't come super easy to me. So I try to just make time for it when I feel like it needs to happen.
I think, like, for me too, in the generation that I grew up, it was not a good thing to cry. I think we kind of touched on this on our last show, but it wasn't acceptable. It wasn't acceptable to ask for help. It wasn't acceptable to show emotions. You just pulled your bootstrings or boots up and got your big girl panties on and you went on with life, right? And so for me, that was a lot of unraveling to get to the point where I could ebb and flow with my emotion and have emotion be okay. So, for me, I actually do it different. I do meditation is the first thing I do, because for me, it brings things kind of to the surface and it stops the shit show. Like I used to do it the way you guys or Connie does it in the workout first, because I needed to like shock my nervous system into thinking about something else. But now I do meditation and journaling. So journaling is often brain dumping for me. If there's things I need to process, then I'll write it out. And then once I get through that stage, then I'll go and I'll do some yoga or body groove or something. I love body groove. Are you familiar with body groove?
No, I'm not.
I think I might have seen some commercials about that.
Misty is pretty amazing because she was, I believe, bulimic, and she was like a fitness trainer or something. I'm going to get it wrong, so go look her up. And nobody knew it. Like for years, she was bulimic and nobody knew it. And so her core message is what resonates so deeply with me, and that's because she really wants to help people be healthy and active and not punish themselves. So it's pretty cool.
I think it depends on what the messiness is, right? If it's messiness in terms of like, I think it depends on what the messiness is. So for me, when I kind of felt like everything had kind of hit the fan this year, meditation was what took me out of it. Right now, when I'm feeling things are messy in the sense of I'm just really feeling overwhelmed and like really stressed out and people are grinding on every last nerve, then that's when I like need to get a good workout in order to do something with that.
So the people are getting on my nerves is the key?
Yeah.
Versus I just need some diffusing time.
I know when I need that time when people are getting on my nerves. Like that's it's almost like I have to be pushed to that point of like, okay, I can be stressed and that's fine. But then when everything that people say is irritating to me, I'm like, okay, I need to go and work out. But that's not the only time I work out.
That makes sense though. Yeah. And do you guys have a daily practice? Something you do every day?
I'll let Marie go first.
Marie, I love that look. She's like, hell no.
That was the, oh shit, please don't call on me first look.
And that's why we have to.
I will tell you, my daily practice at the minimum consists of really just taking some time for myself to sit and do nothing.
But in
Because-
that nothing, you're doing so much. That's what people don't understand.
That's probably true, but so I'm often thinking to myself, gosh, I really should be upstairs in this very room. I should be meditating. I should be playing with my crystals. I should. I'm like, nope. I'm going to lay right here on the couch with my dogs and my blankie and decompress from this crazy, busy, loud day I have had today. So that's my most consistent practice.
Mm-hmm.
And are you a meditator at all?
I do when the spirit moves me, but I am not a regular meditator, no.
So is it something that you go to when you're looking for an answer? Because that's how I used to meditate. Like, oh yeah, I'll go get quiet and check in.
I guess you could call it that. I mean, really, when I'm looking for answers, I go to the bathtub. I draw myself a bath, and they just, it's different every time. Sometimes there's candles, sometimes there's music, sometimes there's, oils. Sometimes I bring my crystals in the tub with me, but just sit somewhere quietly on a regular basis and go within. I don't really do that.
So do you think that you actually walk your day connected? Because so connected for me is connected to source, that thing that beats our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you're really intuitive. So is it easy for you to calm yourself down just by, I don't know, thinking about it and
Yes.
connect?
Yes. And also when I do meditate, it's fast for me to get to that state. I don't really struggle with monkey brain. I just decide to go and I go. And if I can't get there, then I'll just walk away and try again later. But 9 times out of 10, I just go.
See, so it makes sense to me that you don't do it on a daily basis, because I think you're doing it all the time as you need to do it.
Yeah. Yep. And I work in a very emotionally charged environment. I work in a public high school full of teenagers, full of hormones and angst. and I love the kids, my favorite part of the job, but emotionally speaking, that's a lot of noise on your heart. So I feel like if I didn't, as you say, walk through my day connected, I would have a lot harder of a time working where I do.
Okay, so Connie, I really want to get to you, but I want to tap into Marie right here, because I know there's something she's really passionate about.
On the spot!
I would love if you would talk about that emotional piece and the empath piece of, as an empath, we don't need to take on all these emotions that are floating around. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, I'll just repeat what I posted on my personal wall the other night, because as you say, I am fairly passionate about this. And first, let me say the reason why, because I see so many people, gurus, coaches, whatever you want to call them, lots and lots of people that other people look up to or give money to teach them things, telling them that they need to do all of this extreme protection stuff. If you're an empath, you need to. It's, like it's scary, and it's like something you really have to manage from a place of fear. And I'm not saying that none of that is necessary, but what I am saying is that I don't feel that being an empath is meant to be a burden. I feel like it's a special sense that we are given that allows us to be there for people who need someone who understands how they feel, even if they're not living in their situation. Is that what you are asking me?
I love it, and I'm with you, but I do think that healers and coaches and empaths in the world need to be properly educated that it does not have to be a burden. Now, it can be a burden if you choose to make it a burden, mm-hmm. but it does not have to be that way.
Or if you don't understand how to,
then reach the fuck out and ask somebody who doesn't, because there are not a lot of teachers who are not teaching that it can be easy.
and that you don't have to approach it from fear.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I don't always like going into crowded places either. Like I just said, at the end of a loud, busy day, I want to come home and sit in complete silence with my dogs. No TV, no
Right.
Facebook, no nothing, just quiet. But I don't start my everyday with a pocket full of black tourmaline and
Right.
I mean, and I struggle with this, Anita, because I feel like I'm sounding judgmental when I say this. That's not how I want to be perceived. I just want people to know and understand. And like you say, reach out. That doesn't have to be the way. And I would love to teach people.
Yeah.
As I said the other night, on my dime, I feel this passionately about it. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right. And I absolutely feel the same way, that this is not a moneymaker for me. This is absolutely sharing education, because there's not a lot of people sharing this education. And for me, the energetics of it is very simple. If you go into anything fear-based, you're going to get fear-based out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you're going to see and you're going to attract. Now, if you go into it, like for me, I can sit with a client and I can totally tune in to what's going on with them physically, mentally, emotionally. I can feel it all. And that doesn't mean I have to take it on.
Right.
It's not like that. Now I used to, because nobody told me that I was able to do it another way. Right. And I mean, I would leave healing sessions as sick or sicker than the person who came to see me, because I took it all on, and you don't have to do that
Mm-hmm.
at all. So I think it's great information that we're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of stepping back, some people don't even realize that that's what's happening, right? Like they don't even realize.
True.
They don't, because I think we all are, to a degree, are empathic and intuitive, right? Like everybody has that, and some people have nurtured it and some people haven't, right? And so then some people are walking around just taking on this energy and not even realizing that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
So then it's really tough so I think it starts with even educating on energy to begin with, right? Of realizing that's what's even happening, that when you keep meeting up with the same person, and every time you meet up with them you leave exhausted from that person, right? Is like you've taken on all of their stuff.
Right. And just like I know one of my friends and clients said to me, we were having this conversation, and I said to her, she worked in a very busy office type setting, and so lots of clients all day long. And she was literally exhausted at the end of the day. And I said to her, why are you taking on everybody's shit? And she said, nobody told me I didn't have to. And just like that, just the knowledge of it, she never did it again. So she didn't come home exhausted. She didn't come home worn out. She didn't come home needing to go crawl into that cave and find the solitude, right? Because she just decided to do it differently. Like for me, I don't like crowds. I don't even think that it's because I'm an empath. I just don't like people. Is that bad for me to say as an entrepreneur? I don't really like people. Now, I do like to have deep conversations, and I like to sit with groups of people, and I like to have conversations, but I'm not into conversations about the weather and all this meaningless shit that people talk about all day long. I want to have real conversations. And so I put myself in places that I'm able to have real conversations, or I stay home. It's pretty easy.
I don't like crowds because I don't like the busyness. I don't like to have to navigate around people and be herded around like cattle. Like I'm one of those, like, I just want, if I can be at home and like in my peace and quiet, then I'm okay with that.
That might be a sign of getting old, that I like to be home, sleep in my own bed. Like, who wants an exotic vacation? I don't. I really want to sleep in my bed and use my own bathroom. That says something about my age, right?
If
so
Chantel
what? Go ahead.
No, if Chantel were here, she would tell you to just RV, and you can take your home everywhere you go. So
right, there you go. Yeah, and we are sending love out to Chantel tonight. She had a last minute, couldn't join us on the call. If you were expecting to see her, she'll be back. Give it time.
Yeah.
So Connie, do you have a daily practice?
Kind of. I do have a daily gratitude practice that I do every single night.
Ooh, I like it.
Where I write down like 10 things I'm grateful for, and they're like always in reflection of that day, right? So it's not like I get my daughter to do it and she writes like food, parents, like school every day, right? Like it's the same things, right? But it's always looking for the lessons of the day. So I have that. And I meditate in the morning most days. And I have to admit that lately I've been sleeping in if I'm just too freaking tired to do it.
Okay, so when you don't do it, does it change your day?
Yes, I'm
Does it
cranky as
change
hell.
the outcome of your day? And how does it change the outcome? Did you meditate today?
Yeah.
I can tell you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when you send me a message and you get like a short, like, yes, it's like, oh, you need to go meditate. Yeah.
Nappy little bitch, go meditate, would you?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what it is that now I'm finding, well, I guess I kind of fell off after Colorado because I was still trying to adjust to being back in Eastern time. And so then that was my excuse for a while. And then now it's just like trying to even trying to get to bed on time so that I actually feel rested. Because if I wake up early to meditate and then I just find I fall asleep through the whole meditation. So,
Which is just your body saying that's what you need. You need sleep, not meditation. Like I totally believe in honoring that. And so you're right. It probably is that you're not getting enough sleep because I know you totally get jacked up when you're meditating. Like you are so fly and so connected and so all these things when you're doing it.
Right. Yes. So I need to recommit to it. I feel that I need to commit to it. It's just more of the like doing it because for a long time I was having my alarm clock across the room. So I'd have to get out of bed. So when I would get out of bed, it's like, okay, well now that I'm up, I might as well go do it. And now it's like, I just have it beside my bed so I can hit dismiss, right? Like, so, yes, but I definitely
I love your honesty because you know how many people out there who have said, I'm going to get up and meditate and they either hit snooze or dismiss or whatever. And so for me, I don't set an alarm. I've always been kind of an automatic early riser, which is 4 or 4:30 for me. Don't like it when it's 3 or 3:30, but it does happen some days. And I love the mornings. Now, with my lifestyle the way it is, my 88-year-old mother lives with us. And there is a window of about 3 hours that I have in the morning, if I get up that early, that I know that I have some me time. And so it's typically an hour of meditation, half an hour-ish of journaling, and then I study typically The Way of Mastery, which is a book on Christ consciousness. That's typically my morning. Now, and I do 30 minutes of yoga. That's typically my day-to-day routine. Now, I also honor my body. And so there's like, it's not real often, but there's a rare occasion where I'll meditate and there's just a shit show going on in my head. And for some reason I can't, usually I'm like Maria, it's pretty quick. I can connect and I can't diffuse the shit show. And so then I'll do something else. Maybe I'll go on the deck, no matter the temperature, and just connect to nature because that helps me connect to the source. But typically that it's an everyday thing for me. And then at night I do, it's not 10 things of gratitude, but I just kind of survey the day and I look at what I really loved, and be in appreciation for the things that went really well. And also decide, well, this was shit. I don't want to do that again. So then I can choose something else, right? So like we forget that we get to pick something else. We don't have to keep reliving these stories, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how it rolls out with me. And I just want to point out that I'm a fucking rock star compared to the two of you. Kidding. But and we're on live TV, so if you commit, you're being watched. So
yeah, but you're doing I set a daily intention in the morning as well, right? Which you still do,
Love
right?
that. Yeah. You got me started doing that. And I do that, and I share it on my Heart Cycle page because I just think living with intention is mind blowing. What has that done for you since you started living intentionally?
Yeah, so I remind myself daily. I remind myself as much as I can throughout the day, especially, I feel like, okay, I've committed to it being this way, right? And so I'm going to make sure that that happens. So when I do commit to something, I will like go all in. It's
Yeah,
when
I definitely say that's true about you. Always. Like
yeah,
when you
thank you.
commit, you're all in.
Yeah. So how about you? How do you find it?
Oh, I just think it's so easy to say that we're going to do life different.
Mm-hmm.
So setting an intention for me. So typically when I meditate, I think about, sometimes I don't even think about it. Like it just comes to me in meditation. There's a theme of my meditation and it'll come to me. And it's like, oh, this is what I want to focus on the day. And, sometimes it's things like noticing where I'm giving my power away, or noticing if I'm listening to fearful thoughts versus thoughts of love, or the more I get into living this connected, soulful life, the more I see the simplicity and how everything is so vibrational. And Marie, you probably can relate to this. Just the realization that my thoughts are creating a vibration, my actions are creating a vibration, the way I'm showing up in the world is creating a vibration. And so it's really easy to say, well, this is what I want in life, this is how I want to feel. And of course, if my vibration is not matching that, I'm not going to get it. So intentional living for me is helping me to live into the vibration of love, ultimately, is my goal. And I'm not there yet. Some days I'm like, hey, asshole, get out of the way. And other days I'm like a rock star at being love.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody is all love all the time.
Oh, it's a goal, bitch. I'm going to get there. Actually, I think Steve Hardison is love all the time, from what I hear people talking about. And it's our true essence. So anytime we're not being that, so this is my perception, Maria. I'd love to hear your take on this, and yours, Connie. But I believe that our spirit, we're a light body underneath this robe we're wearing as a physical body. I believe the essence of that energy that moves through all things is love. What's your take?
I agree with you. And I think what I mean when I say no one's all love all the time, what I should say is, like, I believe that the gurus or the truly enlightened are all love all the time. But I think those of us who are still spending part of our days in the lower dimensions, as we do because we have jobs and we drive cars and we're still playing in the lower dimensions because that's where life is happening.
Well, and I think that's why we're here.
I don't think that I don't think the two, I think you can work really hard at it, and I think you could get really close, but I think the closer you get, the less, well, and that's probably what you want, right? The closer you get, the less you're down here and the more you're up here. But I just think at this particular stage of my life, I work pretty hard to be where I'm at, but I still have to, pay a mortgage and a car payment. So I'm still living in the lower dimensions when I'm
right.
I don't know.
And I think
myself very well, but
I think that's what the physical dimension is all about, is learning those lessons. But ultimately, I think we're all kidding ourselves because it could be so much easier. That's what I'm learning, is that it could be, but we would have to give up our belief that it has to be hard, that we have to survive and strive in the world. And we would have to really live a different way than society says. And there's not a lot of people that have the balls to do that.
I do not. I do
I
not.
can't wait.
I would wish I
can't
did,
wait.
but I did not.
When I'm 90, I'll let you know if I succeeded. Or if all of a sudden I disappear, you know that I ascended into the ethers and I'm like, rock star.
She made
Connie,
it.
what's your take on all this nonsense?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Marie that we're, you know, as much as I believe that we are, as much as I know that we're spirits in a human body, I also realize we are living in a human experience. And part of that comes with like all that stuff and all the stuff that we could let go of, right? Are we willing to do it, right? And I just don't think that there's very many people that are.
But I do think that as more and more of us thought leaders, and we all are here around this table, we're thought leaders. We do life different to some degree. Probably see more and feel more than many people do. And it is a choice. And I think as we step into conscious living, it raises consciousness so that more people begin to do it. Because it's pretty obvious that the way we're living is not working, right? I mean, there's whatever. I won't go down that rabbit hole tonight, but it's just not working. And so we have to be willing to do something different, because it's just going to keep getting harder if we don't.
Which is why we need to teach people about things like how to be an empath.
Exactly.
and not make it the most miserable part of your day. How to do what we refer to as working really hard to be there every day. How to live your life at the highest vibration that you can in any given moment, and accept the fact that some days are going to be lower than others, but the fact is that you can control it.
And when you hit a low, that you get to choose again. Absolutely. Yeah. And I do think, I think, Connie, that's why you and I are doing this, right? Just to offer, education part way, to share deep conversations, but to let people know that it doesn't, for me, it's about letting people know that it doesn't have to be that hard. This isn't about getting business for me or letting the world know that I'm here, although those things are nice. But it really is about, nobody taught me this. Like, I wish I was here for me 40 years ago, because I could have saved myself a whole lot of freaking time.
Right. And I think that it's important to say, like, it can be easy, and it is a choice. And it's okay if you choose to not make it easy, right? Like, everybody's on their own journey.
Yes.
Wherever
you are is perfect.
Yeah.
Like guilt and shame and all that stuff, that doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, you get to choose something else.
And some days, I don't know about you two, but some days I just feel like being a bitch.
Yeah.
I feel like being,
shocked.
I feel like being in a bad place, and I feel like wallowing in it a little bit, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us to say that, right? Like, there are days that I choose to do that too. And I choose to stay in it, knowing, like, even with all of the tools that I have and all of the people I could call up to help me move out of that, I'm just like, no, I am in a bitchy mood today, people. So get out of my way so that I can just, get on with my day, right? I just feel that there's so much pressure of, like, be positive and make sure that you're attracting, stay in a high vibe and everything. But the reality is that shitty things happen sometimes, and you get to be there if you want to, right?
I think it's really important. And my coach, Alison Crow, and you, Connie, are really brilliant at showing up authentically and showing the messy parts. Like, where I came from, it's not that I didn't want to share that with people, it's that I was never taught it was acceptable to share that with people. So I don't in the coaching industry, there are a million coaches who never show you the shitty shit. And the shitty
Right.
shit is there for everybody, right? I remember my dad passed 10 months ago, and there became this emotional shit show, not just with his death, but with some family stuff that was going on. And it was 4 days, and if people saw me, they would say, you know, she's in a really dark place. And I remember my husband coming up to me and giving me a hug and saying, like, babe, you got to snap out of this. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I need to feel this, because if I don't feel it, then I'm going to learn this freaking lesson again another way, and I have no desire to do that. So I'm going to keep 2 feet in, and I'm going to go through the miserable and the tears and the frustration and the anger. I'm going to feel it all, because on the other side of that is fucking freedom.
Yes.
And we get so afraid to do that.
Yep.
Yeah. 2 things that came up while you were talking, Anita, is that the whole lessons thing, right? Is that like everything is a lesson, you know? And even in all the like really shitty stuff, as like crappy as it is, when you get to the other side and you can actually sit back and be like, oh, that was part of the journey, and that was the lessons I needed to learn, or I wouldn't be in this new place, right? If you avoid all of
Absolutely.
that stuff, it's like you don't learn the lessons and it just comes up again for you to learn.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing was the perspective of realizing that, and having more compassion and like empathy for people, realizing that people are going through things that you don't even know about. And so sometimes, like, if somebody cuts me off or whatever, it's almost like, who knows what's happening in their, you know, in my good days,
Right.
I'm like, who knows what's happening in their world, right? That, and then in my other days, I'm just like, fuck you, right? So,
Same.
yeah.
Right. When I do it right, I ask myself, what would love do? But I think that's so true. And I think for all of us here, I think it's why we're so good at what we do, because we have experienced a lot of life. We've been through moments that are, I'll say, extremely challenging or extremely fucked up. I used to think that my family's picture was under dysfunctional in the dictionary, but now I realize there's probably a million families under that. And I think it helps us to understand other people. I think that's why people can come to me and they literally tell me anything that they haven't told anybody in their life, and I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me this?
Okay.
But it's because I'm safe to tell it to.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment, there's no, you know, there's none of that. It is just, sometimes people just need to talk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I remember, so Marie had actually introduced Anita and I, and because Anita was looking for a BA, and that was what I was doing at the time. And we get on this call, and I just like break down in tears. And so we
I always
spent,
bring out the best in people.
Yeah.
so it was like an hour conversation of me just like venting and letting a lot of shit go, right? And then I was like, that was not professional at all. So,
I'm like, I ain't hiring that crazy bitch.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And it's so important to say, like, we have our bad days and it's okay. Right? Like, as much as I get the whole attraction thing, you know, and staying in a good vibration and staying positive and looking for the good things, and I practice that, you know, I would say 75% of my time, but there are still days where I do not.
and moments in every day that
Right.
I'm like, oops, that
Yeah.
wasn't very nice of me.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm looking at Facebook, and Rosewood has a question. Can I ask if you all think that this is all real? I believe it is not any more real than your dreaming life. So just need to become the lucid dreamer creator and not the dream of character. Ooh, that's a deep ass question. I love. So I think what you mean by that, Paula, is that is this life we're living real? And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but let's just jump in there. Either of you guys got something on that? Oh, hell, I'll start. Well, y'all.
Yeah. I have to reread the question.
So no, I don't think it's real. I think, and this is probably going to like freak a lot of people out, but I really do believe that everything we witness is neutral. And I've been raped, okay? But now I can look at that event and say that it's neutral. And what I mean by this is this. Everything is neutral until we put our twist on it and give it meaning. Positive or negative, good or bad. That's our perception. I grew up with 3 brothers, and there ain't one of us that has the same view about how we were raised or what happened in our home. And I'm like, how the fuck did you guys not, like, I was there. Whose house were you in? It just shows you how differently we view things. But, I mean, is it happening? I think it is kind of a dream. But in this physical world, it feels very real.
Go for Marie.
Marie's like, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh. First,
Do you need some more tea, honey?
no, I won't make it till 8 o'clock I'm already like, can you see my eyes starting?
Yeah.
I have a headache, my eyes like starting to close. I don't want to just piggyback on what you said, but I that's sort of how I feel too. Like this is all an illusion, so to speak, but we're experiencing it for many reasons, which we're going to talk about freaking people out, which we pre-decided.
Let's do it. This will up our ratings. This is like Steinfeld, or what's the show they're always breaking chairs? That's us.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Did they break chairs?
That ain't it. That should our, yeah.
So to potentially freak people out even more, I personally happen to believe that these lessons that we're learning, we decided in previous lifetimes to come back and learn them. And like you've said many times tonight, if you don't experience things and if you don't, then you're just going to repeat them. So we're here. God, I could dive so much deeper into this and so much stuff I want to talk about.
I feel the juiciness coming out of you.
How can I simplify it?
Well, you think on that. I'm just going to put a disclaimer out that we don't really know what the hell we're talking about. So just take this all with a grain of salt, and if it resonates with you, fantastic. And if not, we don't have phone numbers. We don't. There's no way to contact us to bitch about it. Just like let it go. Okay, go on, Marie.
I believe that we in this time have this unique opportunity and have been given this unique opportunity to stop repeating things and to heal things that our ancestors have repeated and to prevent our children, and I use that term loosely, to mean generations coming after us, to prevent them from experiencing these things by breaking patterns. Healing, rising above, raising out of, whatever terminology you want to use. So yes, I think this is an illusion, but I believe it is also largely what we make it, and that we are in this illusion for multiple reasons.
I'm so with you. I got nothing to add to that. That was perfectly said. How about you, Connie?
It's interesting. I've not really thought about this question, so I'm not sure. But what's interesting is that my daughter is like I don't know what she is, but she's this like a special kid in many ways. And one of the things she has said to me is like, I don't feel like this is real. I feel like we're all just living in a dream. And I haven't really I didn't dive deep into that with her because I haven't thought of it myself. But yeah, so it's interesting.
Well, and I think just your daughter saying that, it kind of confirms for me how consciousness is changing and how, I often think, why did I choose this time, this generation, this time frame to come in to the physical again? But then there's the whole theory of all time is simultaneous. I'll just drop that out there, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. And that it's all happening at the same time anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I often think to myself, there's a reason that I'm here right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. And I think when I let go of the fear, and this is a process, it's not a one and done for me. When I let go of the fear of showing up here in this container and speaking my truth to offer, a possible solution, or more like you say, Connie, you're not alone. Like, I've thought about these things all of my life. And until I met the Native American elders, there was nobody I could have the conversation with. I just thought it was fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important that we do talk about these things and that we offer education. And it's not that we have all the answers. I believe all the answers are inside of us. And what I do personally is help you connect to that. Because that's the other thing. Nobody ever told me that I could do that I had my own answers. And I thought I had to, read the books and find the guru and all that shit. And that's all bullshit. Like, yes, there's spiritual teachers that can help you, but if they're not helping you find your truth, they're not helping you. There.
Yeah.
That was my soapbox.
And that's something that you do really well, right? Is that you help people you ask the question that helps them to look inside. I mean, we get off calls sometimes and I'm like, a couple hours later.
Damn it, Anita.
Yes. Exactly.
And I'm really good at making people cry.
I was gonna say, she's had me in tears a couple times too, so don't feel alone.
You guys, you're bad for my reputation. Like, don't do that.
We just got done saying that crying was healthy.
Yeah.
I do a spiritual mentor program, and I've got 11 really great women, and some of them are new to me.
11?
And yeah,
Did you say 11?
I know, it's a pretty awesome number, right? And the new one of the new girls was talking about, like, I'm probably going to make you cry, so I hope you have Kleenex. And I can just hear my one-to-one clients that have been with me chuckling, because I remember one of them saying to me, like, do you just cry every fucking session with you? Does this ever end? Is there always more stuff that comes up? All good, I promise. Just keep crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, silence. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
This was an amazing conversation tonight, you guys. Like, we really flowed through the shit, and we didn't even have Charlene or Chantel's help.
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to, Connie, you wrote 2 things down that you wanted to talk about while Anita was talking. Can you go back to the first one that you wrote down?
The lessons? Is that the one?
You said there were 2 things that came up when I was talking.
Yeah,
long
so
ago.
the lessons that you learn and that we'll keep learning them, and then the perspective of seeing into other people's
repeating the lesson.
Okay, I was thinking that was going to jog my memory, but it potentially did. I wanted to step back and say something else about those days when you just feel like you're going to be, or you're in a funk and you can't get out of it, or you're dealing with somebody that, you think makes you feel a certain way. I don't remember why I wanted to bring this up, but I wanted to talk about the law of reflection. And how it's a lesson. That's the connection.
Yeah.
The law of reflection and how you're dealing with the person in traffic that pissed you off, and depending on the mood you're in, you're either gonna flip them off, you're gonna be like, oh, it's okay. I don't know what's going on in your world, whatever. It just made me think about how when you're dealing with tough stuff, especially with other people, it's important to employ the law of reflection, where you take that thing that they're doing or saying that's making you feel a certain way and turn it around on yourself and realize that that you either also have that trait, or there is something in you related to that trait that needs healing.
Yeah.
So it's that in and of itself is a lesson. And by using the law of reflection, you can learn the lesson and you can not repeat it. That was a very roundabout way to get to what I was trying to say, but I wanted to mention
that is so the way I explain that is, if, let's say I'm in a conversation or I see something and it triggers me and it gives some kind of emotional response in me, I know now that there's something I need to look at in myself, because if I'm not triggered, if I can go back to that's neutral and you're entitled to your opinion and I'm entitled to mine without having to prove it, then I know that that lesson is clear.
Yes. Yep.
I love it.
Actually, Rose commented similar to that. A great reminder to me is that everyone is you. So if you say, hey, asshole, then you're saying you are an asshole because it's all your creation.
That's another way
Yep,
to say it.
there you go. That's right. So I just thought of another question. Shit, keep talking because it'll come back to me.
And I think too that even when you get that response, you still get to choose, am I going to look for how they're reflecting back at me, or am I just going to continue being an asshole? Right? Like, right? So it's still a choice from there as well, right?
Yep. If you subconsciously make the choice, you're making the choice.
Yeah. And then another thing will happen and you'll get another opportunity to heal that part, right?
Over and fucking over again.
And it's not easy, especially when you see someone that you're like, God, why does she have to do that thing? Or say that thing? And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It
Who
does
is
not
the
feel good always to be like, yep, I do that shit too, and it's not cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Connie, who is the author of Dark Side of the Light Chasers? Debbie Ford, right?
Yeah.
She does a lot of this kind of work, that, like, what are you triggered by, and looking in it. So she's a great author to look up if you want more of that shadow work stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's inside me.
She also has the she and Deepak and Marianne Williamson have the Shadow Effect, which is also a really good book.
Oh, really? I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's really good.
What do you guys think about this one consciousness? What do you have to say about that?
Could you
Give you more? Well, so for instance, you're in a traffic jam. Well, here's a good one, because this one is very real to me. Somewhere around 20, all of a sudden, I got terrified to go over bridges if I was driving. And I always wondered, oh, did I die at a bridge? Is that why this thing is coming up? And then I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and Abraham was talking about, how this one consciousness, and how, so it's kind of like the empath thing. When you take on somebody else's, you run into an asshole and you become an asshole. You take on that characteristic, right? So again, it's vibrational. So all of a sudden it dawned on me after listening to that I was like, oh, so I'm driving over a bridge and there's probably 30 other people around me who are going over this bridge, and I'm tapping into their fear or somebody's fear, and it's not really my own. And it never dawned on me to say, wait, is this mine?
Yeah.
So where, and so then if you believe in that one consciousness and that one mind, whereas healers and coaches and whatnot, whatever it is we do, how do we utilize that to a bigger degree, a more effective degree of raising that consciousness? And so when you talk about like healing for our children, you know, the generational thing. To me, when I look at it in that context, if, let's say, for instance, I heal sexual abuse in my current lifetime reality, does that mean that I can heal sexual abuse for all? And I'm not saying that it works like that magically, but in my healing, am I helping to heal that that's not something our children have to experience? Wouldn't that be mind-blowing?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't mind, I will answer first, Connie. Because God knows I have the ability to lose my train of thought. First of all, I'm hearing, as you're talking, I'm hearing loud and clear in my head, we are not there yet. We are not. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go to do that lifting. Yes, I believe that we can heal it for other people. I believe we have to keep doing what we're doing and acting, living the way that we live, and doing the work that we do, and it will spread. But on the same token, I think specific things, ancestral trauma, karma, whatever, I believe that's in the DNA. I believe that's in the DNA, and I believe that has to be healed for that family has to be healed by a family member. Not to say that you can't go to someone who is an energy healer and get healing for yourself, but I believe to help stop the pattern, it has to be stopped in that DNA. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my.
I hear you. I guess I don't have an answer. As an energy medicine practitioner who, like you, and maybe this isn't what you would say you do, but in my work, I feel like I clear on a cellular level. Mm-hmm. Now, does cellular go down to the DNA? I don't know the answer to that. I know that people leave feeling better and emotionally cleansed of things. So I don't know how I haven't really looked into that.
I think that the karma piece is more in the DNA.
See, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we're saying the same thing in different ways. I think that you can get healing for yourself on the table, so to speak. But I think that crap that's, well, let's go back to the bridges thing. If, let's say, for conversation's sake, you're not drawing it from other people, but your mother was afraid of driving over bridges when she was carrying you because her mother was afraid of driving over bridges when she was carrying her. So you're essentially born with that fear in your DNA. That's the level I'm talking about, healing in the DNA.
Yeah, and a year ago I would have agreed with you, and I'm not sure if I agree now or not, because I think I view it. I don't believe karma's a punishment. I believe karma is for every action there's a reaction. Like, I believe that we learn lessons from both sides. If I'm an asshole, someone's going to be an asshole to me, so I know what that feels like. As far as that stream, like you just talked about, what I don't understand is, okay, so if I am spirit, and I am light body, I am creative source, life force energy. That is my true essence. This is my belief today in this moment. And if that is true, then everything else is an illusion. It is a dream of separation, of not being that. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have experiences like you're talking about. We might.
And I think the better word that I should have used if I were not in my drug-induced state would have been trauma, not karma. I mean, I believe the karma piece happens too. But
yes.
When I'm referring to fears, I think we're talking more about trauma than karma.
Yeah.
But also maybe by getting that energy healing, you are changing your DNA forward.
Well, I think it depends on who's on the table, right? Or who's getting the healing, because we all handle it differently. And there is that piece of like sometimes a client can come to me and they can say, I want this, but they don't really want it. They like to circle in what is. I'm saying this nicely instead of how I could say it. And I trust you can read between the lines. And there's some people who come to me are absolutely done with what is, and they want something else, but they don't know how to access it. And literally, it feels like that they create a shift in their life. Mm-hmm. But sometimes those people who they aren't sure, through many of the tools in my toolbox, I can help them get to the point where they're done with this and they want something else. But it just really depends on, I don't know. And I don't, like you and I probably, I don't think you and I do the same work. Like I've experienced your work, and you blew my mind with what I experienced while you were working on me, distant healing. So if you haven't had a session for Marie, go reach out to her, because maybe she'll blow your mind and make you feel better at the same time.
Thank you.
What do you think, ladies? Any finishing thoughts?
No, this was an awesome conversation.
It was an awesome conversation. I agree. We're rock stars. Well, if you join us on Facebook and you leave some comments, we will try to come back and answer your questions if we didn't get